The moment I stepped through the front door, a rush of emotions crashed over me. Relief, pride, joy, and yes, exhaustion, because this wasn't just a house. It was my dream, forged from years of sacrifice and relentless hustle. I still remember the day I signed the mortgage papers. My hands shook, not from fear, but from excitement. I had done this. Alone. Without a single penny from my family. Every late night, every extra shift, every skipped weekend out with friends, it all led to this moment. This house wasn't just about bricks and mortar. It was a symbol. A proof that I could build a life on my own terms. I had designed every inch of it, the open concept kitchen with its bright blue tiles. The cozy reading nook beneath the attic window that caught the golden afternoon sun, the sprawling garden where I dreamed of planting roses. I was finally home. But 2 weeks later, the phone call came from my mother. "Amelia," she said gently, "your brother's struggling. He lost his job. The kids don't have a place to stay. Can he and his family stay with you for a little while? Just until things get better." I hesitated. My brother Matt was no stranger to hardship, but he was also no stranger to taking advantage. But family is family. I swallowed my doubts and said yes. Just a little while, I reminded myself. When Matt, his wife, and the kids arrived, I wanted to be welcoming. I showed them the guest rooms, made extra keys, and even bought new bedding. But what I didn't expect was how quickly the lines between guest and resident would blur, then disappear. Within days, shoes were kicked off in the living room. The kids treated the furniture like a playground. A coffee table once polished to a shine now had sticky fingerprints and scratches. My carefully curated home turned chaotic. Matt would rearrange my kitchen counters to make it easier for the family. His wife commandeered the office for her crafting projects, leaving glue and glitter everywhere. Noise replaced the peaceful silence I had grown used to, loud TV shows, shouting matches over lost toys, and their friends constantly dropping by without warning. And they expected this to be normal. One morning, I found the kitchen cupboards half empty, their contents replaced with sugary cereals and instant noodles I didn't buy. The worst part was the attitude. Matt acted like he owned the place. He'd invite friends over and laugh in my face when I asked for notice. His wife would complain about how unwelcoming I was, and my parents would tell me to be patient and remember it's family. But my dream was slipping through my fingers, and every corner of the house felt less like mine. One night, I overheard Matt on the phone laughing, "Amelia's too stubborn, but this house is ours soon. She's too selfish to share." Those words hit harder than I expected. Because it wasn't just the house they wanted. It was my independence. My peace. My victory. And I wasn't ready to give any of it away. By the third week, the air in my home had changed, thick with tension and unspoken expectations. It started with small comments from Matt and his wife, dripping with entitlement disguised as concern. One afternoon, Matt stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, eyeing the extra guest bedroom. "You really don't need that much space just for yourself, Amelia," he said casually. As if he were doing me a favor by pointing it out. I frowned. "It's my house. I need space." He shrugged. "Just saying. The kids could use that room. It's bigger than your bedroom." His wife chimed in, "And the office. It's perfect for homeschooling the kids. You don't use it much, do you?" I clenched my jaw but kept my voice calm. "It's my workspace. I work from home." They exchanged knowing glances, like they had a secret plan I wasn't in on. The next day, I came home to find the office door locked from the inside. When I knocked, Matt's wife answered, smiling too wide. "We're using it for school today. The kids need a quiet space." I bit back my frustration and walked away. Then came the weekend parties. Loud music, guests parking in my driveway without asking, kids running wild through my garden. My sanctuary was turning into a revolving door. One evening, I confronted Matt while he was chatting with friends on the porch. "Can you please ask your friends to keep the noise down? I have an important meeting tomorrow." He laughed. "You're so uptight, Amelia. It's a house party, not a boardroom." I felt the old familiar sting of being dismissed, but this time it was different. I refused to be pushed aside. Later that night, I overheard Matt on the phone again. "Honestly, this house should be ours," he said. "It's way too much for Amelia. She's always been selfish, anyway." Those words echoed in my mind. I thought of every sacrifice I'd made. Every penny I'd saved. Every lonely night I spent working toward this dream. And here they were, ready to take it all from me. 2 months into this nightmare, the air between us had thickened, charged with quiet resentment and bold entitlement. What started as a favor had morphed into a siege. That evening, Matt called me. His tone was deceptively calm, but I heard the challenge behind his words. "We need to talk, Amelia," he said. I agreed, bracing myself. He showed up with his wife, their faces smug. Eyes flickering with unspoken demands. Matt pulled a folded document from his jacket, a draft legal agreement. "I want this house in both our names," he declared, sliding the papers across the kitchen table like a poker player pushing chips forward. My breath caught. "This isn't a negotiation," I said, voice steady but icy. "I bought this house with my savings. It's mine." Matt smirked, leaning in, lowering his voice to a threatening whisper. "You're young, Amelia. You'll move on, get married, maybe start a family. This house? It's too big for you alone. It belongs to family now." His wife nodded, eyes narrowed. "We just want what's fair. Half." I stared at the papers, then at their faces, so confident, so sure. That night, I sat alone, replaying every moment, every sacrifice I'd made to build this life. The truth hit me hard. They weren't just asking, they were claiming. Demanding. Trying to steal what was mine. Then Matt's final threat sliced through the silence. "You know things about your business that only I have access to," he said, voice cold. "I could ruin you. It'd be a shame to see everything you worked for collapse." I swallowed the lump in my throat but met his gaze with unwavering defiance. "Try," I said softly. "Because I'm ready." The next morning, I took the first step to reclaim my life. I called my lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Karen who had helped friends through messy family disputes before. After I explained everything, she nodded grimly. "This isn't just about property," she said. "It's about power, control, and intimidation. We'll make sure the law protects you." That afternoon, armed with legal documents, I confronted Matt and his wife in my living room. They lounged like they owned the place, laughing about last night's plans. I didn't flinch. "I'm handing you this cease and desist letter," I said, sliding the paper across the table. Matt's smile vanished. "You can't do this," he growled. "We're family. You owe us." "No," I said, voice firm as steel. "You're guests who've overstayed and crossed every boundary." The room crackled with tension. Matt's wife spat venomously. "You think you're better than us? Without family, you're nothing." I felt a surge of anger but kept my composure. "You're wrong," I said. "I'm everything I am because I fought for it. And I'm not letting you take it away." That night, the house was quieter than it had been in weeks. But the peace felt fragile, like a tightrope stretched over a chasm. I didn't know what they would try next, but I knew I was ready to fight for every inch of it. After they left, silence reclaimed my home, but the battle was far from over. My parents called constantly, guilt-tripping me. "Amelia, you should forgive them. Family means everything," my mother would say. My father warned, "You're making enemies where you don't need to. They'll ruin you." But I knew better. Their family was just a front for greed and control. I cut off most contact, focusing on rebuilding my peace. Word spread in the neighborhood, and it wasn't kind. Cold-hearted, some said. Too proud, others whispered. But I stood firm. Weeks later, I received a package, a USB drive with photos and messages from Matt, trying to sabotage my business. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. The final blow came when my sister, the one my parents favored, called. She begged me to reconcile, to share the company and the house. I told her, I didn't build this to hand it over to people who only want to destroy it. Now, they're alone, fractured, and begging, while I'm stronger than ever. My dream home stands, just as I built it. And so do I. It was just past midnight when I was jolted awake by the sound of glass shattering. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. I slipped out of bed quietly, grabbed my phone, and edged toward the living room. The window by the back door was smashed, shards of glass glittering like sinister stars on the floor. I could hear muffled voices outside, Matt's unmistakable gruff tone mixed with his wife's whispering. They were trying to get in. I swallowed my fear and dialed 911, whispering the address to the operator. Minutes felt like hours as I hid in my bedroom, clutching my phone, listening to their frustrated grunts and the sound of someone attempting to jimmy the lock. The police arrived just in time to catch them retreating, their faces twisted in rage and desperation. I watched from the window as they got arrested, handcuffed, and loaded into the patrol car. I felt a strange mix of relief and disbelief. They had crossed a line, the line between family drama and criminal behavior. The next morning, I met with my lawyer. "We'll file charges for attempted break-in, vandalism, and harassment," he said firmly. "This will send a clear message: no one messes with you in your own home." I felt empowered. No more silent suffering. No more being pushed around by people who claimed to love me but only wanted to control me. I pressed charges, and the court took the case seriously. The judge granted me a restraining order against Matt and his wife, keeping them legally away from my home and workplace. The community's opinion began to shift as well. Neighbors who had whispered criticisms before now offered support, impressed by my courage. My parents, who had urged me to keep the peace, were quiet for once. I knew this wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about my right to live without fear. About standing up for myself, no matter what.